Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Suburban Rifleman. I did a sort of old school video a couple of days ago with my retro AR-15 and an old Aimpoint 1000 on it, and it's put me in sort of a vintage kind of mood. So I thought I would just take a quick look tonight at another rifle, and this one's kind of interesting. As you can see, it's not an AR-15, this is an AK. An AKM, and it started life as a Romanian G. I built this rifle starting with a flat. I bent my own receiver out of a flat back in 2006. Back in those days, well, first of all, there wasn't all the fervor about ghost guns and politicians getting their panties in a wad over people manufacturing their own firearms. It was generally considered, as is the law, that it was perfectly legal for you to manufacture a firearm for your own consumption. And I decided I wanted to try my hand at that. So I bought 3 Romanian parts kits. This one was made in 1986, and they were complete back then. You got your Romanian chrome-lined barrel, I think even the full auto trigger kit came with them back in the day. And of course, I have all of my 922R compliant parts on here. I've got a KVAR stock set, which accounts for several of them. This is obviously not the Romanian dong stock that the parts kit came with. This is sort of styled after the AK-100 series. I have the NATO length buttstock on it, though. That's longer than the Warsaw Pact because I'm not 5'5". And I paid a big premium for this parts kit because this was virtually unfired. It was unissued. And in fact, made, as I said, 1986, so only 3 years before Nikolai and Elena Ceausescu got their final reward at the business end of rifles, very similar to this one. So it was absolutely brand new. This one came out better than any of the 2 previous rifles, and I did a couple of extra things on this one. I welded in a reinforcing plate between the pistol grip and the receiver. The value of this on a semi-automatic rifle is probably debatable. These were mostly, I think these were only found on RPKs. So on a Kalashnikov that was meant to fire full auto for extended periods of time, this bit of reinforcement, I think, strengthened the lower part of the receiver here. There are some other internal parts that are American made. This has a Tapco G2 single hook trigger group. I think today there are some other commercially available trigger groups that might be considered better, but although Tapco as a company had sort of a sketchy reputation even in those days, the G2 trigger group that they were selling was pretty much considered to be the gold standard. No trigger slap out of this. And then it just has Krylon on it. And I did this weird rubber band camo pattern. You spray on a base coat, put some rubber bands on it after it dries, spray on your second color, put on a couple other rubber bands, spray your last color, and then you take all the rubber bands off and you have this weird sort of tiger stripe looking stuff. But this rifle looks really beat up. Most of the rivet heads have all the paint knocked off of them and everything. But that is literally just from being shuffled around with other guns in storage over the last 18 years. This is about as close, and one of the reasons I wanted to film it, this is about as close as you can get to a brand new, unfired, Cold War era Eastern Bloc Kalashnikov. This rifle has 20 rounds through it. Last time I fired it was 18 years ago. When I finished this build, I had shot the other 2 that I built first. When I finished this one, it had to be in 2007 or 2008. I was married already very recently, and my bride at the time, very obligingly, I think it was a Saturday night, we were going out to dinner, and I said, I want to just stop by the club quick and shoot this thing to make sure it functions properly. And she obliged. We went to the club on our way to the restaurant. She sat in the car. I had a 20-round AMD 65 Hungarian magazine with 20 rounds of ammo in it. I loaded the rifle. I fired one round, and it failed to cycle. The cartridge fired, but the bolt didn't go back into battery, so I gave it a heel slap, and I fired the second round, and same thing happened, and the rifle was bone dry. And I cut the rails on this receiver very tight. I know Kalashnikovs are supposed to be sort of loosey-goosey with lots of slop in there for reliability, but I wanted my rifle to be relatively tight. So I thought, I really need to, I want to shoot this, but the problem is there's no lubrication on the rails. Well, I was an officer at the club at the time. I had the keys to all the buildings. So I said, I'll go into the maintenance shop and I'll look around in there. Surely there's a can of oil in the maintenance shop. So I went up and unlocked it. I looked everywhere. Tools of all sorts. Fluids of every kind imaginable. No oil. And I thought, shit. All right. I looked around and there was the push mower. I pulled the dipstick out of the push mower, and there's some black, burnt up, long overdue for an oil change engine oil dripping off the end of the dipstick. I dribbled a little bit of that on the rails and in the slots on the side of the bolt carrier, reassembled it, took it back down to the range, and boom, 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 boom. I mag dumped the rest of that 20-round mag with absolutely no problems, and off we went to our dinner. But I have not shot this rifle since that day, 18 years ago. So this rifle has a grand total, since it was manufactured, of about 20 rounds through it. I've got a couple of 30-round Romanian magazines here, but they won't fit. I want to shoot this. I want to test the accuracy of it, so I'm going to shoot off this sandbag. They won't fit in down here. So I've got a couple of these Norinco made Chinese 5-rounders. These were really great magazines. As with everything Norinco, or they may be Polytech, I'm not sure, but it was as with everything Norinco, very good quality. I think one of the Chinese companies was importing rifles in the early 90s with these to keep them compliant with the 1968 Gun Control Act, and the importer was then taking all of these mags and throwing them in a bin somewhere, including a couple of 30-round mags, and sending the rifle out for sale. So at some point in time, I don't know if it was AIM Surplus or CDNN Investments or somebody got a hold of a pile of these, and they were selling them for like $2.99 a piece. You can't get them for $2.99 a piece anymore. I bought 2 of them. I wish I would have bought like a dozen, because they're great for shooting off the bench. But that's what we're going to be shooting out of here tonight. I have a big old sheet of cardboard down here at 50 yards because I don't have a lot of time. I don't want to be chasing my shots all over the place. And then I have my nice AR-500 steel target out at 200 yards. It's only an 8-inch target. It's only an 8-inch plate. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to hit it or not. I didn't have much luck with my AR-15 and aim point the other night, but I don't think that was the fault of either the rifle or the sight. It was just the fact that I hadn't really worked out where I should be shooting it. But hopefully we'll have better luck with this. Now, we've got very rudimentary tangent rear sight on here, and we've got a front sight which is adjustable for both elevation and windage, but I don't have the tools to do that here. So hopefully the Romanian armorers did a good job when they assembled this rifle, and it'll be right on at 50 yards, and then hopefully we can find that steel target at 200 yards. Oh, and by the way, this is old Russian ammo. It's commercial ammo. It's made by Barnaul, sold under the Brown Bear name. It's in a green lacquered steel case. It's got a copper washed mild steel jacket, 123 grain bullet with a hollow point, and the necks and the primers are sealed with red lacquer. So very military style, other than the hollow point bullet. So I just want to take 5 shots at this sheet of cardboard and see if I'm anywhere near where the sights are regulated. There we go. Locked in, round chambered. Here we go. Oh, and it's very well lubricated tonight. I'm running this thing juicy because I don't want to run into reliability problems. I don't see that one. Let's shoot the other 4. Well, no reliability issues. I'm going to walk down and take a look at our piece of cardboard, see if I'm even anywhere near the dot. That's not too terribly bad. Looks like we're about 6 inches high and about 3 inches off to the left. Now, I don't know how that will bode for shooting that 200-yard target that's way out at the end of the range. But I can adjust my rear sight for elevation, so I think that's all the information I'm going to glean from this target. We'll go ahead and try shooting at steel now and see if I can hit it at all. And I had this on the battle sight setting, so I'm going to bump it forward 1 to 100 yards, which actually drops the rear sight down a little bit. All right. We're hot. And I was off to the left about 3 inches, so at 200 yards, I might be pretty far off. Let's find out. That one didn't hit the plate. I thought I heard it hit something, but I don't see my plate moving. Okay, I did hit a plate, but it wasn't mine. All right. What do you think about this? I apologize for the wind noise. The wind keeps kicking up here. All right, I hit a plate. I hit a plate, and it was a little bit below the plate I was shooting at. I'll move to the 200-meter setting, which should be a little bit high at 200 yards, but we'll see. I hit my AR 500 plate that time. Let's try to do that again. Just off to the right. Nope. That was it. Alright, so 1 out of 5 isn't bad. With a completely unproven rifle. And really not the greatest open sights in the world. What's my barrel feel like? Oh, it's barely warm. That was a little bit to the right. All right, 2 out of 7. Not bad. Two out of 8. Two out of 9. Two out of 10. Not good. But I've seen worse. I've done worse. Rifle's functioning perfectly, which is good. All of my rivets look fine. Nothing's coming apart. One interesting thing, I said I only function fired this 18 years ago. I never actually really completed it. There's 2 screws that go through the tang in the rear trunnion to hold the stock in place. And I had only ever installed this screw. I only just within the last 24 hours drilled the second hole and installed the second screw. So this rifle is old, but it's definitely fresh. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can. We're at 2 out of 10. Three out of 15. I seem to do well on these first shots. Let me try that again. That was a little bit high. Four out of 13. Four out of 14. Even with this NATO length stock, these are not comfortable to shoot. Something is pinching me. My hearing protection. 4 out of 15. Shall we shoot a few more? Well, we still got daylight. And we still have ammo. And nobody's waiting to use the range, so why not? I got 20 more rounds here. Let's see how many of them I can bear to shoot. Something about this stock and my hearing protection is pinching the shit out of me. There we go. So that's 5 out of 16. Five out of 17. Five out of 18. Five out of 19. Five out of 20. I've got a 25% hit rate at 200 yards. Not exactly very confidence inspiring. Everything still looks good. Nothing's coming loose. The rifle seems to work well anyway, even if it's not the most accurate thing in the world. Five out of 23. Five out of 25. I've dropped down to a 20% hit rate. Man, the barrel is still not all that hot. The gas tube is smoking, but the barrel's not very hot at all. And I've only got 10 rounds left. Might as well shoot them up. Those 30-round mags have been loaded with this ammo since I don't know when. Those springs need a rest, no doubt. Six for 28. Does that sound right? It's definitely 6 hits. I think that was 28. Six for 29, I think. All right, 6 for 30, so I'm still at a 20% hit rate. Last 5 rounds. I gotta fluff up my pillow a little bit. It's getting a little too smushed down. Six for 35. I can't do that math, but it's worse than a 20% hit rate. So, 35 rounds to score 6 hits. And it looks like I stacked 3 of them. Looks like there's 2 here and 1 there. The other 3 are scattered around. When it hit here, it really flopped the plate around like crazy, but I don't even know where the rest of the rounds went. Looks like there's a lot of chewed up dirt up a little bit higher, but it's almost impossible to tell, you know, what my line of sight was from all the way back there. But anyway, it was fun. But all in all, you know, this was never really meant to be my go-to shooting rifle. I mostly built this because I wanted to see if I could build an AK and have it work. And it seems as though I have done so, even though it took me quite a long time, the better part of 2 decades, to discover whether or not the thing actually works. But it does seem to. And it's hard not to be happy about that. So I just wanted to try this thing out and see if it worked. I've got a lot of follow-up videos to make. I'll be working on those very soon. I want to do a lot of shooting this year, so stay tuned for that, and I hope to catch each of you on the next one. Later, guys. Check out some of these other beat-up plates. Look at this one. That's for the guy who wants to hit dead center and never hear the steel ring. I mean, these are all just pieces of boiler plates, it looks like. This one's all shattered and broken. This one's mangled. How many years have these plates been hanging out here? I mean, it's wonderful that the club provides them, but maybe we should invest in some AR-500. It holds up a hell of a lot better than cast iron stove plates.